Happy New Year to you, my fellow beloved Villa fan, and what a way to start the new year. That was the best New Year's Day I've had in a very long time. Set your stall from day one and set the tone. And it was an early one for me, 5:50 a.m. alarm after going to bed 4 hours previously. But even through the 6 a.m. fog, it was quite apparent to me that Aston Villa was not going to get rolled over at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You know who would have enjoyed that? Bill Lindley, pictured here with his son Rob, turned 70 last month. I don't check my Instagram inbox, so I didn't get this birthday, but I'm going to do it belatedly here because it doesn't matter whether you are 70 or 7. That feeling that you and I experience today, that feeling never, ever gets old. The feeling of hearing the final whistle and knowing you have 3 points at a difficult place to go. And one man had a hand in both of those goals, and he was not Douglas Luiz. Let's talk about it. Tottenham Hotspur 0, Aston Villa 2. Do you know this was Aston Villa's first clean sheet in the Tottenham corner of London since Tim Sherwood achieved it back in 2015 on his return to White Hart Lane? Do you remember the game where Christian Benteke scored the only goal? And I had friends at that game who brought me back this program signed by Pat Jennings, Arsenal legend of all people. And I had friends at this game who brought this fantastic video because they were sitting right behind the Villa section. And it was Phil Corlett, that's Ian's son's first ever live Tottenham Hotspur experience. He's been a fan forever. And Unai Emery said no. By the way, I can't wait for this jacket to be finished because I think it'll look awesome when it is. Here we go with the Holy Trinity show. Whose arm is that, by the way? Tag yourself if that's your arm in the away section as we dissect the 3 key issues or moments that defined Tottenham 0, Aston Villa 2. Oh, what a way to start the new year. I can't tell you. And the extra stat I looked at from this game was ground duels. One, because I thought Boubacar Kamara, John McGinn, Douglas Luiz, Emi Buendia had a good day out. Statistically, nothing really pops out at you. The ground duels did, though. 58% won by the away side. And look at how many shots Aston Villa had. 4 of them on target and 2 of them went in. Robin Olsen was largely untroubled. You know me, I like to temper my own and everyone else's enthusiasm, and it is a key factor that none of Rodrigo Bentancur, Dejan Kulusevski, or Richarlison were available for Tottenham in this game, and 3 of their better performers heading into the World Cup break. And it is a little odd to me that Spurs sat off so much in that first half hour, and they have this weird habit, 10 straight games now of conceding first in all competitions. They're making it hard on themselves, and yet they are still the most likely team in the Premier League to reverse a negative scoreline. Aston Villa can only play the team that's put out in front of them. They have no control over that. What they can do is take advantage on a day when the team in white wasn't at their strongest. And let's be grateful for that. Key issue or moment number 3 is the Emery effect. This is a thing now. I don't think this is a new manager novelty anymore. He's won 3 of his first 4 games in charge that included United, Brighton, Liverpool, and Spurs, not what you'd call pushovers necessarily. He didn't have Emi Martinez or Jacob Ramsey on Sunday, and he hasn't even put his own stamp on this team yet with some incoming transfers. And yet, a lot of Villa fans were on social media before this game complaining that Robin Olsen was starting, even though Emi Martinez had returned, and well, they basically got Unai'd because Olsen was much, much better than at home against Liverpool. And at halftime, some other Villa fans were complaining quite vociferously about Emi Buendia's performance, how poor and ineffective he was, and that he needed to be changed at halftime for Phil Coutinho. They too got Emery'd. And this was after a lot of fans complained that Emery didn't make any substitutions against Liverpool. And quite frankly, I'm pretty sure that's what he thinks of those complaints, because I think that was the best team and the team most likely to get back in that game. Maybe we, as fickle fans, need to now start to trust the manager. I mean, he becomes the first Villa manager since John Gregory in 1998 to win his first 2 away games back-to-back. That is quite a long period of time. This guy has a successful track record. We do not. Perhaps it's time to start trusting him. I know it's still early, but 2 things have stood out in the first 4 games under Unai Emery. This feels like it's not a new manager bounce. Firstly, the approach at Villa Park is different from the approach away from home, which is totally okay with me, because clearly the players are understanding their roles and responsibilities. At home, I feel like he wants to go hell-bent for leather and toe-to-toe with the Manchester Uniteds and Liverpools, because he wants to excite the fan base. And if they address, I think, some obvious needs in the squad this month, then maybe when it comes down to trading chances, the fortunes will improve in either penalty area. Maybe you shave a goal off at this end and you score an extra goal at this end. But the other thing that I notice is that the players obviously have enough respect for Unai Emery that they are willing to take on unconventional or hybrid roles, or roles that they're not used to. And I think the best example is John McGinn, who out of possession plays on the right side of that midfield and drops back into a 4-4-2. Same as Emi Buendia on the left side. Now, neither of those players are naturally on those sides. In fact, I think naturally it'd be better to switch them. But how can you argue when things have worked out the way they have? And then later you saw Matt Cash come in and play a wide midfield role. And Callum Chambers came in and played either a 6 or an 8 or whatever the instruction is. In any event, what's clear is the message is coherent. The players understand it, and they are now executing it. Key issue or moment number 2 was young heroics. There were 1 or 2 Villa fans that were piping up after they saw Matt Cash was not starting over Ashley Young at right back. And I guess ultimately they got Unai'd, and there's a theme developing here. And this moment now is in the 39th minute. Think about that in terms of the context of the game. And this is one of Tottenham Hotspur's few chances. Good ball over the top. Robin Olsen keeps his feet, doesn't dive in. This was not classic Aston Villa panic stations defending here. And then Ashley Young covers, and he had to get this absolutely spot on, and he does get it spot on. Ashley Young is perhaps one of the unsung stories of the year. He's a leader on and off the field. He turns 38 in July. If you asked an average punter to go watch training and say, pick out the 37-year-old, you'd never be able to do it because he acts like a child in training, which is really important and fantastic. Wouldn't you love to be paid to play football and act like a child? But imagine if he had not come to his goalkeeper's rescue at this stage in the 39th minute of a scoreless match away. Well, that would have been just so Villa to concede there. And the number 1 big issue or moment that defined Tottenham Hotspur 0, Aston Villa 2, Booba's brilliance. It's funny how fate and the players you don't end up signing can be as significant as the ones you do end up signing. And I couldn't help but thinking as I was watching Yves Bissouma racing around in Tottenham's midfield on Sunday, would those 45 or so million pounds that we were rumored to be about to pay Brighton, would those have been considered good dollars spent, a bargain, or would that have sounded like an overpayment now? And had we done that business, would we have signed Boubacar Kamara at the start of the summer window on a free? Because I don't think we would have. And although Douglas Luiz was named man of the match because he had a direct hand in the finishing of both of those goals, Boubacar Kamara had a hand in starting the inception of both of those goals. And when comparing the two, I felt Boubacar Kamara was far more effective and noticeable in this game than was Yves Bissouma. This here is the inception of the 1-0 goal. And not a lot of people remember that change in possession that leads to a goal. But I do, because when you coach young players, you really need to reinforce how important good decisions are that then lead to goals 30 or more seconds later. And that a good thing that you're doing at one end has a profound impact on the other. This is a simple throw and restart. But look at Kamara. He's pressed not just the first time, but here as well. And look at the composure there. The ball comes out and it's up the field and they don't give it away again. And Emi Buendia ultimately benefits. It's so simple. He avoids the pressure there by playing it back. He's in position to get it back. And that is just cool as you like. It's into an open part of the field, and Aston Villa takes a 1-0 lead. Now, just to tie a nice ribbon on the 1-0 goal, I've told you before, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I love Ollie Watkins. I like the guy. I think he's a serious professional and a good human being, and you need those in your squad. And he has a ferocious work rate. And he's been getting pelted lately because he doesn't hit the target enough and he doesn't score on the chances that are created for him. And I think he still does, of course, need to do better in certain situations. But my question is, and I don't hate Danny Ings, does Danny Ings have the legs to pounce on this loose ball, shield off the defender, and then have the vision to lay it on a platter for Emi Buendia? I don't know. Danny Ings will have opponents that are more suitable to him and where he will be effective. But in this game, Ollie Watkins had a serious hand in Aston Villa earning 3 points because of this moment, and that is all that matters. Not your goal scoring record, not how many assists you have, although here's another one. It is all about the 3 points. And I just wonder what might happen if Ollie Watkins had a dominant, a high quality, natural poacher to play with, and how difficult that would be, because Ollie Watkins is a pain in the ass to play against. This is the inception of the 0-2 goal, and it also has Boubacar Kamara's footprints all over it. Square balls are always risky to play in that middle third, and Spurs decided to play one out to in. I think it was actually Sonny who played it. Kamara clocks it, pinches it, and Aston Villa are up 2-0. He just glides in, sees it, gets a little touch, and then look at how simple the pass is. Doesn't overthink it, sticks to his initial instincts, and plays that simple ball. He never seems to dwell or be in two minds on the ball. This guy just turned 23 in November, and he has the IQ, which you're born with. He has the lungs and the stamina. Shame he couldn't get on the score sheet. He was advanced in the inside left channel with Ollie Watkins late. I was hoping he was going to try and test Hugo Lloris. But now he also has an elite teacher. We need to build a squad around this guy, because my biggest fear is he's going to want to play Champions League football sooner than later. We need to surround this guy with more elite talent. Fair play to John McGinn. We've seen him play this ball before. He got it from Luiz, and Luiz just kept on running. And that's exciting when your central midfielders are joining the attack, when they're releasing because they have the confidence to get forward. That's really good news, because you have to have that. You have to have goal-scoring midfielders. Jacob Ramsey is capable of doing this as well. He's got the legs, the lungs, and the adrenaline at home especially to join in and score from midfield. But Douglas Luiz just clocked it. And then how about that for a classy finish with the outside of his right boot? And at this stage, you and I are thinking the same thing. We are finally going to win a game in London. And on top of the euphoria of winning on the first day of 2023 at a difficult opponent in a city where we've had our struggles, hopefully setting the tone for the season ahead, and in a month when we may actually add a quality player or two to the squad, I get the added excitement, bewilderment, and appreciation of you supporting this channel through our thanks and super thanks button, which is going to help me and Rob try to get to Villa Park. In fact, because of your generosity, our pilgrimage to Villa Park is actually up and running. We are no longer at the gate. We have left the gate and we are now taxiing towards takeoff. I can't thank you enough for that. And now, Wolves on a Wednesday. And I'm fully aware that a loss at home in midweek would completely undo all the goodwill that was accrued at Tottenham on Sunday. And that's because Wolves is a traditional rival and a neighbor. Under new management, maybe they have a little bit of the new manager bounce, and they're a team that seems to have had our number a little bit of late. I still have nightmares about the 2-0 up and 3-2 loss a couple of seasons ago, which was, I think, the beginning of the end of Dean Smith. So does Emi Martinez come in and get to take his Villa Park World Cup bow? Does Matt Cash start for Ashley Young? Will there be other rotation? You'd think Leander Den Donker coming into midfield against his old side might make some sense. We shall see. But winning on Sunday at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I think, takes a little bit of the table-gazing edge off this game and perhaps allows Villa to play a little bit more freely, because they'll have some confidence behind them. And they do play differently at Villa Park, and they do want to make their fans happy. And they're playing against a team that is still in the dark places in the table. And my question for Wolves, is this going to be a more open game like Liverpool, where we're willing to take some risks and exchange chances? Or will it be a little bit more pragmatic given the possibility of squad rotation, the fixture congestion, the proximity of the opponent, and how important, those rivalry games are? Also, with the context of an FA Cup match looming the following Sunday, which will also be intriguing from an ambition standpoint. Will we dress a strong squad? Will it be experimental? All these questions are going to be figured out over the next week in what feels like a big month for this football club. I will be with you every step of the way to talk about it. Until the next time, be well, Happy New Year, and as always, up the mighty Villa.